Hello my gorgeous loves out there and welcome. In today's video, I'm going to do a good old palette ranking. I actually did one of these just 3 weeks ago, but I have been trying a lot of palettes lately. There have been really beautiful holiday launches, so I am going to now give you guys my final thoughts on all of them. But before we get into this video, if you're new here, hello, welcome. My name is Bri and I am just a crazy lover of all things beauty, and I like to post a lot of fun, colorful makeup content. I like to do a lot on indie makeup, so if that is what you're into, then please hit that subscribe button and join this little family. But with that being said, let's get into this video. Welcome. It's almost Thanksgiving. If you do celebrate, I hope you have some amazing plans. I've just been really enjoying this fall season so far, even though it hasn't been that cold here in Texas, but I'm sure it'll get colder once like January and February hits. But I have tried a lot of palettes recently because there's been a lot of beautiful launches, especially during Halloween. There was so many good Halloween collections, so that is why I'm here so soon doing another ranking video. And I actually have 14 to rank in this one. Usually I just have 10, but I just tried a lot, and I actually forgot to mention one palette in my last ranking, so I'm going to include it in here today. Now, how I do this ranking is I go from my least favorite to my most favorite, and I base it on either quality, color story, versatility, how likely I am to use it, if it's unique or not unique to my collection, just things like that. Now, if I rank something really low that you love or really high that you hate, please don't take it personal. This is just based on my personal preferences when it comes to makeup. Now, before we get into this ranking, if you're curious about this eye look right here, which I think came out absolutely stunning, I did film it for Instagram. It may or may not be up before this video, but if you want to see it, it is on my bricbeauty page. I also have one called Bricey Lifestyle that I do more like travel and lifestyle things on. So if you want to join my Instagram fam, I would really love that. But now let's get into this ranking. So at the very bottom of this ranking, which this is kind of a quality issue and maybe a packaging thing. So this is the Lethal Cosmetics 2 Up palette. And I feel like the matte formula is different in this than their other palettes. I kind of struggled with the mattes in here. There were some that were just lacking pigment. Like I had to really build up this green one for it to show. And then these darker ones were on the patchier and they didn't build very well. And when I tried to build them, like the shades would kind of patch off. So I'm not sure what they did with their mattes or why they changed it up for this palette, but I hope that's not going to be the theme for palettes going forward. I also don't like the empty space in this packaging. Honestly, I wish that they either put shadows here and made it a bigger color story or made this a smaller palette. Now going on to the next palette in the ranking, number 13 is this from Gourmand Girls. This is the Secret Grove palette, and normally their palettes rank a lot higher. I even have one that is going to rank higher in this ranking, but this one wasn't necessarily a go-to for me. And the reason for that is that I feel like some of the mattes are a little close, like they look the same on the lids, like these two greens, these two like yellowy orange shades, like once you blend them out they're gonna look the same. And this is more of a matte palette than a shimmer palette. You only get 2 shimmers, and I am more into shimmers, and I love the shimmer formula from Gourmand Girls. So now I did struggle with one shade in here. It's the Kinoko shade. This one was one of those thinner formulas. It was a little sheer. It could not build on itself. It would just kind of patch off. And even when I tried to use this directly on a eyeshadow primer, I still kind of struggled to get it to blend out. I think if you love mattes, you would probably love this even more. I just happen to prefer more shimmers in my palettes than mattes. Now going on to number 3 in the ranking, and this is a very high quality palette. Mattes are excellent, pigmented, blendable, metallics are stunning. This is the Glaminatrix Cosmetics Sugar and Spice palette, which is actually the palette I have on my lids today. Like this palette can create some really stunning looks. It's just more of a muted nudie palette with pops of color. Like we have some pops of pastels in here. But because I'm more of a color lover, I'm always going to gravitate to way more colorful color stories. Also feel like these two mattes in here were not necessary, like two nudie beigey shades. Also, the range of the mattes didn't make sense to me. You go from very, very light to very dark. There's not really midtones in here. Even this one that looks like it could be a midtone definitely translates a lot darker on the lid since their matte formula is so pigmented. In terms of the metallics, they're absolutely stunning. Some are shifty, they're really sparkly. You have these beautiful like kind of jewel tone colored ones that are shifty. I mean, the metallics are where it's at when it comes to this palette. Now going on to this palette from Cosmic Brushes. This is their Gothic palette. The quality is insanely amazing in here. I love Cosmic Brushes. This is just a very monochromatic palette. I can only do so much with this. Like I can only go really purple, really like pinkish, mix them up. Now I can see myself having this be my go-to berry palette, but I just can't do as much with this as I can do with other palettes that are higher ranked. That's the only reason why it's on the lower end. But I do like that they did something different from their usual palettes. I like when brands switch it up, and I still really adore the colors in here. So if you like your purples and your berries and shades like this, you will absolutely adore this palette. Then going on to a smaller palette, which is actually pretty versatile for being a smaller palette. It is this one from Wicked Widow Beauty, the Graveyard Smash palette. It's a beautiful little fall color story. You can go purple, you can go green, you can go into the warm tones, you can go into the cool tones with this. So to have only 8 shades, I feel like you can do a lot of different looks with this, and the quality is really good in here. The mattes are pigmented, they're beautiful, metallics are nice and high shine and foiled, and then you have this one that's a little bit more on the smoother end. It's really, really pretty and high quality. Then going on to this one from Uden's Eye. This is the Little Ghost palette. This was a collab with Angelica Nikovas in their Halloween collection. Now the reason why this is not as high up is I don't really see this as a Halloween color story. Like I don't think it totally matches the theme. Like, do you get the idea of like little ghosts and Halloween from this? Not really, besides the oranges in here. And I feel like this is just not my favorite color story that Uden's Eye has ever come out with. I mean, you can either go like really orange, really blue, really purple. You can mix them up. But I mean, the quality is excellent, and it's the usual great formula from Uden's Eye, and I think it's really pretty. Now going on to another Glaminatrix palette. This is definitely higher up because the color story to me is very unique in this one. This is the Into the Night palette. I actually forgot to mention this in my last ranking video because I've had this for some time now, but I find it just very unique, very different. It brings something new to my collection. I don't think I have anything quite like this, and I love that this has muted tones with these bright kind of neon-y pops, like this pink right here, this beautiful greeny matte right here is such a beautiful shade. You can totally use this as an inner corner highlight, and it's just very interesting and very inspiring. When I look at this, I can see like all these different cool color combinations that I can do, and I just think it's really fun. Then going on to this beautiful, more muted fall color story. This is the Devour palette from Unearthly Cosmetics. I got this in their Halloween mystery box, but you can actually purchase this separately, and I think this is going to be part of their permanent range, not like a limited edition product. But this is so pretty. Like, look at these tones. You have so much depth in here. You have these beautiful shifty iridescent metallics that make gorgeous inner corner highlights or brightening shades on the lids. You have depth. You have these deeper kind of smoky muted metallics as well. Now overall, like, the mattes are pretty dark. You only have this one that, I mean, it's so pigmented that it's like on the darker end for a mid-tone. So if you need like lighter mattes in your palette, this might not be your go-to, but I love a lot of depth and smokiness. This is really beautiful. I can see myself using this a lot during this time of year and even into the winter time, and the quality is really beautiful in here. And then going on to a Gourmand Girls palette. I told you I had one higher up on the ranking. It's the Haunted palette. This was a collab with Doodles by the Bunny, and they just did a good job. Like, they're a match made in heaven. All their palettes they've done together I adore. I think this is a really fun fall kind of color story. There's a lot of muted shades, but there's a lot of cool, fun, bright pops in here. Like we got the limey green pops, you have some yellows, you got pinks, and the metallics are really foiled and flaky and metallic, and then you have this really smooth metallic here. I love like these orange tones, the olives. Now I do feel like these are a little bit similar, and I do feel like the greens are a little similar. So I mean, I don't know if both need to be in here in terms of the yellows and the greens, but I still appreciate both of them, and they are somewhat different tones. But besides that, I think the color story is really beautiful and gorgeous and very high quality. Now going on to the other palette that was in the Halloween collection with Ensley and Angelica Nikovas. This is the Trick or Treat palette. This is a true Halloween color story. Like they nailed it with this one. It's full of these gorgeous, grungy, warm tones in here. You have the orange, you have the green, you have some yellowy tones in here, a little bit of like a maroony shades. So you can do a lot with this. I love the olives, the greens. The range is beautiful. If you want it to even go more on the nudie end, like a warm tone nudie look, you can totally do that with this. Or if you're wanting to go more purpley, more green, I mean, you have a good amount of options in here. And I love this little pop of aquamarine metallic here. It makes a gorgeous inner corner highlight, and I just think they nailed it with this. Like this is the perfect Halloween fall color story. The packaging, everything just goes so well together. And then going on to number 4 in the ranking, which this is so beautiful. This is the recently de-influenced palette from Beaute Bar. This has so many beautiful rich tones in here. There's some really intense shifty metallics. You have all this depth in here. You can go smoky, you can go cool tone, you can go warm tone. So I love how they split up the palette on a more cooler end, the more warmer side. So you can get fiery, you can get very green, you can get very purple with this. You have these gorgeous iridescent shifty metallics that make gorgeous inner corner highlights, and then these more like jewel tone metallics, and then you know, you just have so many things to work with in here. The quality is absolutely insanely excellent in here. It is definitely on the pricier side, but you get really high quality in these amazing shimmers that tend to be more expensive to formulate. So I love this palette, and I totally think it's worth all the money. It's just, oh, it's so pretty. That is why it's like pretty high up there on the ranking. And then number 3 on the ranking, which is going to be my total go-to fall palette. It is perfect in every way possible. It is this palette from Ensley Cosmetics, their Harvest Moon palette. I love the packaging, and I just love all these colors in here. The greens, we got some muted cool tone purples, some pops of orange, some even more nudie shades in here. These like beautiful like browns. Like this is so pretty. This has all the fall tones that I could ever need. Now overall, the mattes are pretty dark in here. There's not really any lighter mattes to work with or any real true mid-tones. They all lean on the darker end, but the quality of the mattes are excellent, pigmented, intense, and then you have all these different metallic formulas. Some are smooth, some are really foiled and flaky. You even have ones that are like hollow chromes with all these different color shimmers in them. So I just love this, and I love that it's a heavy metallic palette because that is what I gravitate towards. I love intense shimmers. I will always go for a shimmer over a matte because that is what I'm into, and I can see this being like my number 1 fall palette from here on because it's so good. Now going on to number 2 in the ranking, which is one of the best pastel palettes that I've ever tried, but yet it's also super cohesive and versatile. It is the Blend Bunny Cosmetics Sickly Sweet palette. Like this blew my mind and how good the pastels are in here. They're pigmented, they pack a punch. You can use them as inner corner highlights, brightening shades on the lids, and I just love that you get all these different options of pastels, to greens, to blues, purples, pinks, orange. You have everything you need when it comes to pastels. And then I also love that they included deepening shades in here. They included some deeper metallics. They included some more pastel metallics. So you can do a lot with this. This is not an only pastel palette, so it's a very versatile and super cohesive. So I love that they didn't just only do pastels. They give you more than that so you can do completed looks, but this is definitely a palette where I love the pastels and the mattes so much that it makes me want to do all matte looks. And you have to have a really amazing matte for me to skip on some shimmers. And I think I even did an all matte look in my review with this palette, but I was just really impressed by this. Like, they nailed it. I don't think I've ever tried a pastel formula that is as good as this one. So if you're looking for a go-to pastel palette that will have everything that your heart could want when it comes to pastels, I highly, highly recommend this one. Then number one on the ranking, and I feel like if you've been watching me for some time now, you could probably already have guessed that this was going to be number one, but this is the Danessa Myricks Lightwork Volume 5 IM palette. This is an all shimmer palette full of these different textures, from flaky ones to smoother ones to even satins in here to toppers. You have all these different colors with different shifts in here. And I find these shades actually quite unique to my collection because I tried really hard to find metallics that were similar to this, and I struggled to find anything that was exactly the same. So I love that it brings something new to my collection, because I feel like the last palette from them, the other Lightwork one, had a lot of shades that I was able to replicate with singles in my collection, and they had those chrome liners and their chrome flakes, which aren't my usual go-to formulas to use. So I do love that they stuck to just like metallics and shifty and satin shades in here. So I think it's so worth the money. It's like $129, but if you think about it, shades like this individually, like if you're buying singles from Cleona, Davina, Terra Moon, they could go from $15 to $20, which would totally be a lot more money if you bought all of these shades individually. So you get all of this in one palette for, I think, an amazing price. So that was all 14 palettes ranked. Hopefully my thoughts made sense. I tried to just really explain why the palette was ranked where it was and let you know whether this would be a better palette for you if you had a different preference for me, like the Lethal one, because it has more sheer mattes. Maybe you would prefer this one if you like a sheer matte formula, or if you prefer more mattes in your palette, maybe you would like the Secret Grow palette more than me. I try to just be very thorough and let you know my thoughts and not necessarily rank a palette or say it's bad just because it doesn't meet my makeup preferences, because we all have different styles. But hopefully you did enjoy this video. You guys will now have to let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Would you rank these differently? Would you rank them lower, higher? Like, what are your thoughts? I would love to hear from all of y'all. And if you're new here and you enjoy this video, you like a lot of fun, clever makeup content, you like your ranking videos, then please hit that subscribe button and join this little family. I would love to have you here. Also, don't forget to check out the description below. I will have all these palettes linked, all the videos that I've done with any of these palettes. I will also link the makeup that I'm wearing. Like I said, I did film this look for Instagram. It's on my Breezy_beauty page. So if you like a lot of beauty content, check me out over there. And I also have Breezy Lifestyle. If you want to see more lifestyle and travel things from me, I would love for you guys to join my Instagram fam. But that was everything for this video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this and be here and support me. I just think you guys are all so amazing. And I just hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving if you do celebrate, or just a wonderful day in general. And just sending you guys so much light and love. But until next time, bye guys.